Hey everyone, and welcome to your Java tutorial on inheritance. So as you can see, I have Visual Studio code pulled up here in our Hello World example ready to go. To begin this, I'm going to delete our Hello World instruction, and I'm going to start a comment. And I'm going to define inheritance, give you a definition for this tutorial. Inheritance is an object-oriented programming technique by which an object or class, let me pull this real quick, object or class acquires the properties and behaviors of another object or class. And the reason that I'm using object and class sort of interchangeably here is because it works on both the class level and the level of the object as well. So inheritance is a way that we can have like one class, and we can create another class that inherits from that first class, and it can get all of the behavior of the first class, and we can add additional behavior in our second class without affecting our first class. And the reason that you might want to do that is because you have some type of core behavior that you want other objects to have, but you don't want to rewrite it, right? So inheritance was sort of a crucial technique in object-oriented programming, and it's still very useful today. Okay, so let's see how inheritance is implemented. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to create a new file, and you can do this in whatever IDE you're using. You can do this however you create a new file. And in Visual Studio Code, there's a button. I'm just going to click it, create the new file called mother, and it creates us right off the bat a public class called mother. So in our mother class, I'm going to have a public string variable called name, and I'm going to set that equal to sort of just a random name, Dorothy here. And I'm going to have a private integer called age and set that equal to 65. Right, so generally you shouldn't just, it's not always a good idea to initialize variables like this, but for the sake of this, tutorial, I'm going to do that. So this will be our parent class, right? And so in inheritance, you have a parent and a child object, or a parent and child class. The parent class is the class that contains the functionality that gets passed on to the child class. And so for sake of ease, in this situation, I've called our parent class mother, and we have a name that gets passed down and an age variable that gets passed down. Cool. So I'm going to go back to our, source folder here. I'm going to create another file here called sun.java. And this sun class gets generated. And in our sun class, I'm going to say sun extends mother. And so what this does is this, as you can see in our mother class, we just have this public class mother signature and nothing else. And that means that this class does not inherit from anything else. However, in our sun class, we have public class sun, and then we have this extra bit extends mother. And what that tells the compiler is it's saying, hey, our sun class is going to inherit from mother. And the keyword for that in Java is extends. So this is the syntax for inheritance in Java. Now, what I'd like to talk about is our mother variables here. We have a public and a private member variable in our mother class. So public and private in the terms of inheritance work a lot like they do just normally. So our sun class, if we want to make a public method that returns a string called getName, we can do that, and we can return name. So here we have our sun class, And we're using our getName method, and it's returning name. Now, where is name coming from? Name is actually coming from mother. So we actually inherit our member variable name from our mother class. So we're accessing the mother's name. And in this situation, our mother's name is Dorothy. So let's go to our main method. And let's do a system.out.println. And we will say mother name. And we will, actually, first we need to create a mother object. So we're going to use remember when you create a class, you're creating a type. So we're going to have a mother type object. We're going to call it mom. We're going to set it equal to a new mother, a mother class. We're going to call this variable mom. And we're going to set it equal to a new mother object. Inside of that mother object, we have a public member variable called name, and we'll access that now. We can also create a son object, and we will call this just son, and we'll set it equal to a new son object. And let's copy this line, and we're going to say son name is equal to son dot name. So here we are accessing the name variable from our son class, and as we see, we do have a getter that we could use as well. But for this sake, I wanted to show you how you can access the member variable inside of the class and also outside of the class. So let's run this program and see what we get. And so down here we have mother named Dorothy and son named Dorothy, right? So maybe not a great idea to have your son named the same thing as your mother, especially when you're coding, because it's like, how am I going to tell the two apart? So let's create a constructor for our son class. And in our son class, we are going to take in the parameter of a name, and we will set our name variable equal to our parameter. Cool. So over here, we will pass in the name, I don't know, we'll say Randy. And so let's run our program again. And what do you think is going to happen? Yeah, exactly. So we have a mother named Dorothy and a son named Randy. So what's happening here is that we have a name variable in our mother class, and that name is set to something. In our son class, we can take that same member variable and we can override it. And if we did a getName here, you would see if we ran this that we return the same thing. So the point of all this is to show you that when you inherit from a parent class, yes, they do contribute member variables and functions, but you can take those member variables and functions and override them in the child class, right? So this is a pretty powerful concept because you can take existing functionality from something and you can, mold it and use it however you want to in your new class. So far, we've been working with public member variables, right? So now let's take a look at private member variables. You'll see that we have our age member variable here, and it's private in our parent class. Previously, I created this getName method that returns our name variable. Let's do the same thing for our age. Public int getAge. And let's just return our age member variable. So you can see here, we have a red squiggly line indicating an error. So let's see what this is. The field mother.age is not visible. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, as we know, public member variables you can use outside of the class that they're declared in, and private member variables you can only use inside of the class. Well, that works for inheritance too. So you can't access this private variable outside of the mother class, even if you extend from it. But what you can do is you can mark this private member variable as protected. And this is a special accessor that makes it so that you can access a member variable in a child class. And so you can see down here, now we don't have that red squiggly indicating an error because we can access our age member variable. So let's go back to our main method and let's copy this, and we're going to adjust it for age. So we're going to say mother age and son age. So remember it's protected, so we can say age here and age here. And so let's run this. Now you can see we can also access this from our main method here. So why is that? If it can only be accessed from child classes, why is it also accessible in our main method? Well, it's not that it can only be accessed from child classes. It can be accessed from any class, from child classes, and any class in the same package. So if you see our source folder here, our mother, son, and app class, which contains our main method, are all in our same package. So now we've seen how member variables kind of inherit down from parent to children. Now let's take a look at how methods can inherit down. So we'll create a public method in our parent class. It'll return a string, and let's have this, we'll call this get everything. And what this method is going to do is it's going to return our name plus do string dot value of integer, and we'll pass in age. So what we're doing here is we're taking, and actually I'm going to do this. We are taking our name and we're adding a space here, and then we're adding also to that string. We're calling a static method on this string class, which is called value of. We're passing in our age, which basically converts this integer into a string, and we return the whole thing. So we'll call this get everything, and it's going to be a public method. And so let's go to our main method here. I'm going to clear the console real quick for when we run it. And I'm going to clear our, actually, I'll leave everything here. And I'm going to copy this. And we'll say mother everything and son everything. I'm going to do a mom.get everything and a son.get everything. Cool. So I'm going to run this. And we see Dorothy, Randy, age 65, age 65, age 65. Okay, so you can see that the output of these two methods is the same, right? So we created the method in the mother class, we used it, the son inherited that method, and we used it in the son class as well, and they printed out the same thing. So what we can do, though, is in our son class, we can also, let's just we'll pass in an integer called age as well. Oops. And in our constructor, for some reason it's just bothering me that the mother and the son have the same age. So I'm going to set this here and override it in the same way we did the name. But what I also want to do is I also want to override the get everything method from the mother object. So this method actually exists in our mother class, but we're going to override it here. And in this case, everything to the sun, we're just going to return just like tacos. That's everything to the sun. Everything is tacos to this generation. So yeah, we're going to pass in 12 to the sun here. And let's print it out, or let's run this program. So as you can see down here, we have mother everything, Dorothy 65, son everything, tacos. So you can see here how the mother and the son have, the same method, but it does different things. So in the mother class, the get everything method prints out something sensible like the name and the string value of the age. In the son class, it just returns tacos, right? But this method exists, and if we deleted this from the son class, we would still have a get everything method from our parent class here. So if we run this, we get Dorothy 65 and Randy 12, which is what we've assigned our son's name and age to. And that works the same way with private and protected methods as well. We saw it with variables. Those access modifiers work the same way with functions. So just a quick recap. Inheritance is an object-oriented programming technique by which an object or class acquires the properties and behaviors of another class. And so the syntax for inheritance is right here. We declare a class normally, as we've learned before, but then we add this extra bit of extends and then the parent class. So this extends portion means that the class that we just declared here inherits from this extends, the extended class. In this case, it's the mother class here. And the son inherits from that mother class. When we create that inheritance relationship, it means all of the methods and variables that exist in the parent class, the child class gets as well. Now, the child class may not be able to access any private methods or private variables that exist in the parent class. However, the child class can access anything that's public or protected. The protected access modifier enables the protected variable to be accessed anywhere in the same package that the class exists in. So this has been sort of an introduction to inheritance. I hope you learned something. Thanks.